So much good stuff to get into, and I'm telling you, man, like I said off the top, I am amazed at how much good content, good stuff is still out there for me to talk about. And I do want to start with the NFL draft. And I want to give the NFL so much credit because Roger Goodell and that league takes so much flack for everything they do. As they say, when you're on top of the mountain, everyone wants to try to knock you down. But I give the NFL so much credit for just putting this event on in the first place. And I'm not going to do a big winners and losers. You don't come here for NFL analysis. But I will say, first of all, the biggest winner of this weekend was the NFL. I thought that dating back to, if you remember a few weeks ago, there was the big horse competition. And with the horse competition, it was a disaster from moment one. It looked like the whole event was being taped on a BlackBerry from 2006. It was grainy, it was blurry. I was getting seasick watching it, which was kind of weird because I was sitting on my couch. It was just impossible to watch, and I think the ratings tanked because of it. And coming into this one, I was really worried, is the NFL going to be able to pull this off? I mean, think about all the elements that go into this. We got 32 NFL teams. We have, in that span, 32 head coaches, 32 GMs, hundreds of players. Roger Goodell, it only takes one thing to go wrong to be the butt of everybody's jokes, and I thought the NFL absolutely killed it this weekend with the production. I'll be honest, I watched the entire first round. I watched basically all of the second and third rounds. I don't remember there being any technical issues at all. Now, maybe I missed one or maybe something froze for half a second, but overall, I thought it was insanely well done, and I do give the NFL a ton of credit for just putting on this event as it was. And I'll say this. You guys know I spent a ton of time in Vegas. I've obviously done 3-4 episodes now from Legacies. I have a lot of people in that city that I talk to, and I know how much time the NFL put into just the draft in Vegas. It was years of preparation. Every hotel was on conference calls constantly to get that thing set up the way that the NFL wanted. And so for them to pivot in about a 2 or 3 week period, put on what was essentially a flawless production, I give them so much credit. You know who else was a big winner this weekend? I'll tell you this. I thought Roger Goodell was an insanely big winner this weekend because, again, like I said, I'm not saying he's a perfect guy, but you guys all follow the headlines like I do, and it's like the guy can do nothing right? And some of it is self-inflicted. He did not handle the Ray Rice situation properly. I think on the opposite spectrum, I think he was too aggressive with the Ezekiel Elliott punishment. And so I get that there have been times where Roger Goodell has been a punching bag, and deservedly so. But I also think that he runs a pretty good league that is making money hand over fist. Players are getting paid well, certainly the quarterbacks, but there's more guaranteed money coming to the players. The owners are obviously just filthy, stinking rich in a way that nobody could have ever imagined 20, 25 years ago. And I do think he gets a lot of flack for just being the face of the league and not being a perfect person, which there is no perfect person. But I thought this weekend was awesome for Roger Goodell. I thought it was awesome for the way that he handled himself in front of the cameras. For people who didn't see it, he had a wardrobe change mid-round one. He had in round two, I'm not going to lie, I think he got a little tipsy by the end. He was falling back in his chair. He was fake bro-hugging with the TV monitor. I just thought it was a great weekend for Roger Goodell. I thought it was a great weekend for him to show a personality that, frankly, we didn't know that he had. I would also say, I thought it was a great weekend for the whole stay-at-home idea of the draft. I think outside of the technical production, I think we all thought it would be kind of weird, like, how is this going to work? People are going to be at home. They're going to be in their home office. How is this? It was awesome. Like, I will take it to the step that I think they should think about doing this every couple years at home. Now, look, it's never going to top New York or Nashville last year, Cleveland next year. Vegas is obviously going to be insane in 2022. But think about all the craziness that happened with this stay-at-home NFL draft. Think about everything that happened. I wrote a few down just so I don't forget any. One, I already mentioned the Roger Goodell wardrobe change, which was incredible. I thought he was at the Academy Awards. He goes from full suit to sweater between like pick 13 and 14. It's like, Roger Goodell, what are you doing? You're not hosting the Academy Awards. It's the NFL draft. Chill out. Then, by the way, by the end of round 3, he's wearing a t-shirt on the couch. Round 2, I'm pretty sure he was hammered. But again, shout out to Roger Goodell. Here's some other things that happened in round 1 that would have never happened if we had the normal draft in Vegas. We had Jerry Jones making picks from his yacht. And if you watch closely, he did not hold his own cell phone. So shout out to Jerry Jones, who is so rich that he has someone hold his cell phone for him when he makes his picks. That is a level of rich that I will never know. My level of rich is like, I'd like to live in maybe a multi-bedroom home, maybe like to have a nice pool, maybe like to be able to pay for my kids to go to college. Jerry Jones is so rich, he has somebody hold his cell phone for him when he makes his picks. Speaking of his pick, how about your boy CeeDee Lamb? You see the video of CeeDee Lamb? Girlfriend sitting on the couch, who, by the way, was apparently Trae Young's ex. Not my business, neither here nor there. I'm staying out of his personal life. CeeDee Lamb, he's on the couch taking a call from the Cowboys, and his girlfriend tries to grab his second phone out of his hands. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. You talk about quick reaction time, quick reflexes. I love that, and we don't get that if the draft is not at the house. What else am I missing? I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. We had Adam Gase, who I'm just going to tell you straight up, I don't think Adam Gase loves his children. I'm not trying to call DCFS on the guy or not, but did you see Adam Gase, the Jets head coach? His kids are climbing on him, and he's giving them the stiff arm and pushing them away. And so that was another thing that came out of this weekend. Henry Ruggs in a bathrobe. We got a guy drafted in a bathrobe. And I don't care if it was a sponsored deal with Old Spice. That means nothing to me. The guy got drafted in a bathrobe. Shout out to Henry Ruggs. And then finally, I didn't even mention Cliff Kingsbury's house. This guy, by the way, went 35-40 at Texas Tech and somehow fell up in life. People talk about Lane Kiffin falling up in life. How about your boy Cliff Kingsbury? 35-40 at his alma mater, gets fired after 6 years, runs Baker Mayfield out of the program, can't win with Patrick Mahomes, and this is how Cliff Kingsbury is living. Again, we don't get that if the draft is in Vegas or Nashville or Cleveland or wherever. And then finally, we do have to talk about Mike Vrabel's house. For those of you who did not see it, and I think everyone on the planet, anybody that's listening to this show did, Mike Vrabel had the wildest setup that I have ever seen in the history of home NFL drafts, which was obviously just this weekend. How about Mike Vrabel, the guy in the background who I'm 93% sure was using the bathroom with the door wide open? You got his son looks like the Boz Jr., and it's just insanity. Now, maybe Mike Vrabel was playing it up for the cameras. Maybe the guy wasn't really using the bathroom. Big controversy on the internet. But I'm just saying, that does not happen if we do not get the home NFL draft. So I loved the home NFL draft. I loved everything about it. I love Henry Ruggs' robe. I love Jerry Jones having somebody hold his cell phone on his yacht while he made his pick. I loved Roger Goodell. I loved the way that he handled it, and I thought it was incredible. And I did say this on my Saturday night show on Fox Sports Radio. I really do hope the NFL considers once every 4 or 5 years. I'm not saying every single draft has to be like this. Do it at home. That was fun. I had a blast. And finally, in terms of the broader NFL draft, let me just say, I do think that the biggest winner this weekend overall was the NFL. And listen, I know it's a lot of fun to joke about Henry Ruggs' robe and Mike Vrabel's bathroom and all that stuff. I thought it was insane how important this draft became for our society as a whole. And I don't mean to be Debbie Downer and all that stuff, but listen, about 3-4 weeks ago, when the NFL made it clear they were going to proceed with this draft, we all know what happened. They got a lot of pushback, a lot of people in the media. I believe Adam Schefter was one. If he wasn't, I apologize. I'm not trying to go after him. We had a lot of people saying, we can't do the draft right now. People are dying in the streets. This will be the most terrible thing ever. We can't see young men become millionaires. Well, why not? Why not? And the NFL never budged. The NFL never succumbed to social media pressure or media pressure, and they just forged ahead, and there was never a doubt that this thing was going to happen. And it became almost the exact opposite of what the critics feared it would be. One, it was an insane ratings bonanza success. I mean, it outrated just about every NBA game from last season, outside a game or two from the final, 16 million viewers in round 1, 8 million viewers in round 2. But beyond that, it was important because it gave us something that was communal. It gave us something that allowed us for 2, 3, 4 hours on Thursday, Friday, Saturday to get away from all the negativity in the world right now. And I promise you, this isn't going to be me ranting about coronavirus, but it has been a tough couple months here. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are going through a lot of bad things right now. And for 4 hours, for 3 hours, for 6 hours, whatever it was, to be able to put that aside, to be able to turn off the local news, to be able to turn off the national news, to be able to stop worrying about death counts and infection rates and the negative of this and should we reopen, should we not reopen, when is college football coming back, when is the NFL coming back, and just have fun, just focus. I thought it was so important, I thought it was so big, and I thought it was so great for our country as a whole to have this. I would also add, I think the idea of players becoming millionaires in front of our eyes, it was this big negative of, oh, people are losing their jobs. And trust me, I have friends, I have family who have lost their jobs. I'm not trying to be unsympathetic to those people, many people I'm sure, who were in a very similar situation. I actually do think it was the opposite, though. I actually do think that this provided people hope. This provided people opportunity. It showed families' lives changing. And I think it shows us that hopefully brighter days are ahead. So kudos to the NFL for actually moving forward with this draft. I never was against it, but I know many in the media were, and I am so glad that the NFL decided to move forward with this. I do want to quickly talk about winners and I'm not going to do a big winners and losers, right? I'm not Pat McAfee. I'm not Adam Schefter. You're not coming here for AT's winners and losers, but I did think from that first round, there were a couple compelling storylines. Listen, I'm not going to do draft grades. Again, that's not what you come here for, one. But two, I'm not going to pretend like I know that the cornerback from East Carolina was a great pick in the 6th round. That's never what I've been about. I do think a couple interesting storylines that really stood out to me from round 1. One, shout out to the Miami Dolphins. First of all, shout out to your boy AT. Because AT told you on Thursday's episode, if you follow on Instagram, I said that the bet of the draft, if you were going to make one prop bet before the draft, it was Tua, the over-under of 5.5 picks. In other words, was he going to get drafted under the 5th pick or over the 6th pick? I said go under. I believed he would go top 5, and credit to the Miami Dolphins for making this thing happen. And look, I understand the backlash of, oh my goodness, how can you draft a quarterback? He's got he's got a bad hip injury, blah, 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 this and that. He's a risk. Well, I understand he's a risk. But first of all, I would say all of these guys are a risk. I love Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's a risk. And to backtrack, I never said the Cincinnati Bengals should take Tua number 1 over Joe Burrow. I never said that the Redskins should move on from Dwayne Haskins after Tua. At some point, the risk does outweigh the reward. But I thought with the Miami Dolphins at number 5, I thought it made a lot of sense. And all I heard leading up was, oh, there's so much risk, and this doctor failed him, and that doctor failed him. First of all, I think that stuff was leaked to get people off of Tua's scent. I wouldn't be surprised if it was leaked by the Miami Dolphins so they could take him at number 5 without somebody moving up ahead of them. But with that said, I don't understand this whole, oh my God, it's such a big risk. As I said a minute ago, all of these guys are a really big risk. I love Joe Burrow. I think he's great. I think the Cincinnati Bengals should have taken him. But he's 23 years old. He's older than Lamar Jackson. And he basically only had 1 year of really good, he was elite during his one senior season at LSU. But he only had 1 year in college where he was even really good. So don't act like Joe Burrow doesn't have some risk or some concern. Don't act like Chase Young, who when he came back from suspension and Ohio State started playing really good teams, started playing Michigan, started playing Penn State, Chase Young struggled a little bit now. So don't tell me that there's no risk with Chase Young. There's risk with all of these guys. And so for the Miami Dolphins, I love why they did this for this reason. In a worst-case scenario, you're the Miami Dolphins, right? In a worst-case scenario, Tua can't stay healthy, this doesn't work, and you don't have your franchise quarterback. Well, guess what? They didn't have their franchise quarterback on Wednesday anyway. If this doesn't work out, the Miami Dolphins are going to suck. Well, guess what? They've sucked basically since Dan Marino left. I looked it up on Sunday morning to confirm they have made the playoffs twice since 2001. For comparison's sake, the Patriots have won 6 Super Bowls over that same stretch. The Miami Dolphins have made the playoffs twice, and I believe have won 0 playoff games since 2001. So don't tell me it's this crazy risk. You know what the crazy risk is? Going another year without a guy that you think is your franchise QB, and to get him at number 5 when he has been the best quarterback in college football over the last 2 years, if you go in totality, I think it's almost a no-brainer. Again, the downside is, well, oh my God, what happens if he gets hurt? Well, guess what? You're the Dolphins. You keep stinking. But the upside is if he stays healthy, he was probably the best quarterback prospect in the draft. You just got the guy that if he was healthy would have been the number 1 pick in the draft, and you got him at number 5. And you got a guy that you can build your franchise around. Hopefully he can win. And the great thing is with the Dolphins, they're not in like win now mode, right? The New York Giants got their quarterback last year with Daniel Jones. The Miami Dolphins, the Detroit Lions with Matt Patricia, they got to win now. Giants got to win now. There's a lot of teams drafting in the top 10 that got to win now. Brian Flores in Miami, the head coach, has a lot of goodwill. After that team was supposed to be tanking all year to get the number 1 pick to get Tua, they get him instead at number 5 because they won a bunch of games during the regular season that they weren't supposed to. The other reason that I love this really quick, this division is wide open. I know that the Buffalo Bills just made the playoffs. I know that the Patriots still have Bill Belichick. But this division has never been more wide open, the AFC East, than it has been right now. So why not go for it? Why not go after the guy that can potentially put you over the top if he hits? And if he doesn't, you're the Miami Dolphins, you stink anyway. So I love that pick from Miami. I would also say, in terms of the teams that I was impressed by, I loved Cleveland taking Jedrek Wills, the offensive tackle from Alabama, at about 12 overall. I thought he was the best tackle in this draft. He was certainly the best tackle I saw in college football this year, but I love it for this very simple reason. You're going into year 3 of the Baker Mayfield experience in Cleveland. First year was a wild success. Second year was an insane disaster. And so now you bring in an offensive tackle. You bring in an improved head coach. I don't know how good Kevin Stefanski's going to be. I know he's better than Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens' only job qualification was that Baker Mayfield liked him. He was terrible. You already had the weapons with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. And so now you bring in the offensive tackle. You protect Baker Mayfield, and you find out really quick if Baker Mayfield is the guy for you or if he's not the guy for you. And if he's not the guy for you, you move on from him really quick. A couple other thoughts. I thought in the loser category, I think the obvious one is obviously the Green Bay Packers, right? And so for people who may not remember, and I know y'all do, they made the NFC Championship game last year, which means they're pretty freaking good. And I think with the Bears still struggling to figure things out, I think the Vikings are in kind of a weird spot. I think the Lions stink still. They're going to win a lot again this year. Now, the problem with getting to the NFC Championship game was they got exposed for how much better the San Francisco 49ers were than them last year. They got dominated on both sides of the line of scrimmage. You guys watch the game. You don't need me to get into it. They don't have playmakers on the outside. And so to go into the best wide receiver draft maybe ever, to go into a draft where 6 offensive linemen were taken in the first round, and to draft a backup quarterback, are you kidding me? As a general rule, I'm in favor of a year or 2 out picking the guy that you think can replace the legend. I would have had no problem if the Saints made that pick. I would have had no problem if the Tampa Bay Bucks even made that pick, knowing that Tom Brady's only going to be there for a year or 2. But the Green Bay Packers, when you're this close and Aaron Rodgers is carrying you and he's getting no protection and your D-line is getting no rush and you have no wide receivers, and you trade up to get a backup quarterback when you could have traded up to get Jerry Jeudy, you could have traded up to get Henry Ruggs, you could have traded up to get CeeDee Lamb, who all fell, Justin Jefferson. I don't like it. So to me, those were the 3 teams that stood out. Loved what the Dolphins did, loved what the Browns did, hated what the Packers did.